garlic aioli and truffle spread, and then when I was dipping it, it was just kind of falling apart.
You see, what I think is that the difference is focaccia bread is traditionally baked as like flatbread, whereas ciabatta bread is baked as a loaf.
Ah, yeah, I didn't know that.
Maybe the texture and the consistency.
Oh, we're on. Welcome to Toad House. Today's episode is the first of many debates we're going to have.
A great debate. The questions that need to be answered. That everyone's thinking, but no one speaks up.
Too afraid to ask.
Too afraid to ask.
And speaking of that, I mean, well, the debate is Xander believes.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Let's get ready to rumble!
I'm an atheist, so yeah, I believe like that, we evolved and that we were created. I think abiogenesis makes sense, like where chemicals on the earth and the right conditions led to the spark of life, and then from there evolution took over, and now we're here.
And I believe more in a intelligence behind everything, a creator, a supreme intelligence that created us. And just upon researching this, I guess if you already have a biased, because everything I was looking up, I'm looking up things that I'm already trying to prove my point.
Yeah, like if you look up like why is evolution wrong, you're gonna get stuff that's like this is why it's wrong instead of being like what's right. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I could see that.
So I was going back listening to both points of view, and it messed me up because both points of views were using the same excuses to prove their point. So then now it's kind of just, I don't know, there's just too much information, or I don't know.
Yeah, and then you got to weed through the bullshit. Like, is this a reliable source? Is this just some angry fat virgin vlogging in his mom's basement?
First, what is evolution?
I think it's basically just the fact that life changes over time. I think it would be like the basic definition of it.
It says the process of which different kinds of living organisms are thought to have developed and diversified from earlier forms during the history of the Earth. Is Google definition of evolution.
The Webster definition. Which I think, yeah, like, I mean, I don't know exactly, like what you think about and what exactly you believe in, but I think that, I mean, it's undeniable, right? Like, life has changed with time, and it does change.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think a big thing is like some people I think maybe even most people will believe in microevolution, but then if they don't believe in evolution all the way, where they have a tough time is with macroevolution. So I guess micro would be like, trees are getting taller, so giraffes' necks get longer with time to accompany that, and they get bigger.
And that's macro? Or
micro, like little changes within the same species. But then where I think some people lose it or don't believe it, is when you get to macro, which is like
a monkey becoming a man.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a fish becoming a frog over time. And that's where people are like, no, I mean, I could see.
And you believe that?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, see, and I believe things adapt. But I don't think we were monkeys or evolved from monkeys. Or I don't think.
Like, you don't think like a species could change into another species?
No, I don't think so. And I don't think, from what I researched, I don't think that's ever been proven or...
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's hard to see it, right? Because I think something like that would probably take, if like it is the way scientists think it is, possibly like millions of years, hundreds of thousands. So I guess it would be hard to see that in real time. But I have seen some, there's that classic case of, I think what they call Darwin's finches. You ever heard of that one?
Yeah.
Like, of
I knew
course.
it.
I knew you were gonna bring that up. Like,
If that's all you've got, you better come with something.
but yeah, like if anyone doesn't know, some finches were separated. Some were put out like on an island, I believe it was, and some other ones were still on the mainland. And within the lifetime of Darwin, they went back, and the species were different enough that they couldn't mate anymore or reproduce. And so that's like the basic line. Like, okay, now it's a different species. Like they can no longer
see, and
reproduce.
I didn't hear that.
Nice.
Well, I mean, everything that I was listening or everything that I was researching or everything that came up about the finches, everybody would always counter like, yeah, they're still finches. It's still a bird. It's still the same bird. But
okay,
I never
yeah.
saw that point that they can't produce anymore.
Yeah, I guess that would be like that's like the basic
That's pretty
fundamental.
big. That's
Yeah,
big.
right. I
If
would
they
say
can't-
so.
If they can't mate anymore,
Like
because I mean,
they're like DNA is incompatible or whatever. I don't know exactly how all that works, but
okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
so I
Okay,
see.
I guess I that's it for me.
All right, I'm out. But I mean, you make a good point. Like some people would say, oh, it's still a bird. It's
Yeah,
still
it's still a
it's
finch.
just a different kind of finch. But yeah, like I guess can dogs and wolves have kids?
Yeah, because
They can?
Yeah, you can have. People sell wolf hybrids.
Unless it's just like a husky. No, I promise it's a dire wolf.
No, but yeah,
See, I didn't know that.
yeah, wolf, and then I mean even a Chihuahua and a Great Dane technically could, right?
You see, and that's the thing too. Like, people are like, "Oh, there's no way an animal could change so dramatically, like become a fish to frog, whatever." But I feel like a fish to frog is almost as big as like a Chihuahua to a Great Dane. Like, that's a crazy difference. Like a completely different animal, but they're the same species.
Yeah, see, and I think that's manageable. Like I can see that happening, but yeah, I can't see a fish. I mean, fish have lungs, right?
Gills. Some fish have lungs.
Okay, so a fish has its gill. Okay, yeah, the gills. Yeah, so I don't see a fish all of a sudden growing lungs.
I just don't think
Getting
it's.
arms.
I think it would just be gradual, like like little tiny changes that years from now you look back and you compare the original to the one and you're like, holy shit, it's really different. Like there's I was gonna say Mudkip, but I think that's a Pokemon.
Mud skipper?
A mud skipper? Is that what it is?
A muddy mud skipper.
Or is that another fucking?
SpongeBob, what is muddy mud? That is an animal or a mud skipper.
There's some fish. Yeah, I can't remember. It's a mud something, and they have like, I don't know if they have they have gills for sure, but they also, I want to say they have another organ that's almost like a lung, so they can come out of the water and breathe air, like human air,
What the fuck is human air?
for a small amount of time, but kind of a long time. So like they'll come out of the water and squirm their way through mud, and I want to say they have their
yeah.
eggs in the mud, and then they go
that's-
back to the water.
And they're closer to like a salamander. Or
Yeah, like
something.
so it's almost like an intermediate species, like between like two big changes. Or I think there's like a lot of examples of like intermediate type stuff like that.
See, and what I was researching is like when you look at fossils, they say there's no evidence of any of those in between species. That you only have fossils of one thing and then the next thing, and there's never any fossils of anything in between showing evolution.
I think there is. I mean, I can't like I'm trying to think of like a specific example, but I think there's definitely some out there. Like I know they have like people always say, "Oh, there's where's the missing link between people and monkeys?" I guess not really monkeys, but people say that monkeys. But there's a lot. Like there's like skeletons that they found, and they'll put them together. I don't know if they find them all at once. I don't know exactly how they do it. They get a cow thigh and but there's some there's like Australopithecus is one of them. There's
And that's like a in between.
yeah, like it's very human-like, but like I should have brought it up. There's a chart that they show, and like they show the different ones they find, and like they kind of, I mean, who knows? They kind of date them and kind of try to put them like into a timeline, and you can see over time like a lot of them like their jaws start to get smaller, their foreheads get a little bit bigger, but the back of the head gets bigger, or smaller than the forehead, but the back of the head gets bigger, and they start to like be more upright, taller, their arms shorten.
Like the T-shirt, everybody. Right? Is it-
Yeah, something like okay, yeah, something kind of like that. But they do have like a. There are species that they have found that I guess could be considered like missing links.
And you know, even if that is true, that still doesn't. I mean, that would just be more power to an intelligent creator or creation. Because I mean, even if things do adapt, which they do, that doesn't disprove a creator.
Like you think maybe, like oh, okay, fine, things change,
Yeah,
evolution, natural selection, blah blah blah. But the spark of life was made by a creator.
Yeah, some kind of intelligence that we're not aware of. Like another experiment I saw was a guy, and he was trying to simulate. And I don't even understand how they come to an agreement of what gases were around before life.
I think I was gonna bring that up. I think I know what you're talking about. It wasn't the Miller-Urey experiment.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's the one where. So I used to think maybe, because there's that have you heard panspermia? Panspermia?
No, or maybe I have.
It's when you jizz into a pan and then cook it on the. No, but no, it's when.
Oh yeah, I have.
oh, in that case, yeah.
Is that what we call it?
That's what it's called now. That's what the kids call it nowadays. And no, there's the idea that maybe life came, like some microbes or something were on like an asteroid that came from somewhere else and landed here. Conditions were favorable, and then that's how life got here and started. Blah blah. Because people try to see where life came from. You know, how did it start? Like you said, maybe there's a creator or something. And then I want to say it was in like the '60s they did that experiment. And yeah, I don't know how they figured out what the early environment was. I guess they have their methods. I haven't looked into it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. When you're seeing something like that or hearing about that experiment, I mean, because even the way the guy debates it, or for people that don't know, the experiment was this guy.
It was two guys, yeah, and then they did it for like a PhD thesis. They were like young dudes, and what they try to do is recreate similar conditions that were on the early Earth when it was forming and.
Yeah, the gases.
Yeah, so it was so they put like the, basic gases that were in there.
Lots of beakers.
Yeah, some
burners,
crazy fucking looking thing, and
Bunsen
like
burner. Right.
graduated cylinders, lab tables, chalk.
Beakers.
But yeah, so they try to put all the chemicals in their gases, and then they had like a thing that like dropped water every now and then to
And
simulate,
electricity, right?
and they're like and then they had something that made sparks.
To simulate lightning.
Yeah, I get. Oh
That's
yeah,
what they
exactly.
wanted
So like with this crazy setup they did, which they say is like similar to Earth's early conditions, complex amino acids and proteins started forming in the water naturally.
And they thought that was the building block of life.
Yeah, and then those started doing stuff, and then basically just chemistry.
I mean, but that's the furthest they got was just amino acids and.
Yeah, so they're saying
proteins.
like the conditions were enough to start making these complex
Then
chemicals.
somebody came and corrected them, and they said, the gases that you're using aren't the correct gases. Which I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's ways they'd figure all
So
that
once
out.
they
But
corrected the gases, nothing formed.
I haven't seen that one. But
Yeah, of course you didn't. Because I mean, because,
of course you did.
Of course not. You're a robot.
no, because
expect
that's not
that.
what you're looking for. That's what I'm saying. There's the same. People are using the same arguments for both sides, and when somebody has a good argument, the next side will be like, "Oh no, that argument."
Where did that guy go to school? That's what I want to know. Because I know they have recreated the Miller-Urey experiments, and people do make like chains that start reproducing and stuff. But like you said, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, they were corrected,
Oh.
and then that's supposedly, from what I heard, from what I was told.
The Somalian University of.
No, they said once the gases were corrected to the original gases that were here before, which, I don't know how they come up with that, but it didn't form anything.
I don't think there's any real evidence for a creator. And that's my biggest thing. Like, I believe in evolution, natural selection, and all that stuff, and I do believe abiogenesis, but it's not mutually exclusive from believing in a God. Like, you can, like you said, like, you can believe in all that, but maybe you think there's a creator that made the spark, and then he just let the world he made do its thing.
Yeah, like it's to me, it's an intelligent world.
But I just don't think there's any evidence for that design. Like, I don't hate the idea. I'm not against it, but I just don't think there's any evidence for it. So I feel like I shouldn't even waste my time believing it, because. But I mean, maybe there is, and I just haven't found the right evidence. But
Have you been looking?
yeah, I've looked.
Have you?
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, my whole from like the age of 10 to 15, I was like in a dilemma, like what? And the more I learned, the more I just realized, like, I don't think I've never
Oh, you
heard
should maybe, or I mean, how about this? How about try looking at an older age when you understand things a little more? No, I mean, right? I mean, yeah, maybe a
I mean, yeah, I
10-year-old
still look like for sure, like I'm really into science. I mean, I love physics. I did all that for a long time, so
And
I
that's what-
definitely look at stuff like that. But yeah, I've never heard a convincing argument or seen any real evidence that convinced me. At
or
least.
even science. I mean, because science and
What's it all about?
What's it? Is it real?
Is it real? Is outer space real?
Science. What is it all about? Technology. What is that all about?
It's just, I mean, because that's another thing too. If people say all this appeared out of nothing, I mean, we've never ever seen that. Like, you've never been walking and just something appears. Like, that's never ever
Yeah,
happened.
like they say, why is there something rather than nothing?
Why is there something rather than nothing? Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you get to the point where it's almost not even science; it's like philosophy, because like all we can do is ponder, right, about stuff.
Yeah,
like
because
that.
science can only go so far. And you'll always ask a scientist, like, all right, well, what created the spark? If you're saying the spark, or you said it came from an asteroid, okay, well, what created the asteroid? Or, there has to be something greater. And, at the end, I guess the scientist would just, what is it? I don't know.
I do think like there's like a name for it. Richard Dawkins came up with this name for the idea that I'm trying to think of. I want to say it's called like the ever-changing zeitgeist or something like that. But basically, like, when humans started like making fire, like we knew so little. And it's almost like a circle of knowledge that we have. And as we gain more knowledge, the circle of knowledge obviously gets bigger. But then the diameter, the circumference that's touching what we don't know also grows. So it's like the more we know,
The more we don't
the
know.
more we realize how much we don't know. And it leaves even more unanswered questions. So I do think that some of the answers that, or some of the things we ponder nowadays that we're like, yeah, science can't answer that. I think eventually it will be able to answer it. I'm sure people like in the 1500s were asking questions like, oh, why do we get sick? Like, the world science can't answer that. It's beyond that. But as we learn more, we learn more. But then also there's new questions. So I think eventually, like 100 years from now, some of the things that we say science can't answer, I think science will be able to answer. But then we'll have an even bigger
Yeah, that's what I'm
unknown
saying.
questions.
It's going to keep.
So I think it's just like that. Yeah, it's like.
Well, how about when you're going the opposite way? Because if you go to the very beginning, science says it's the Big Bang, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. What's before the Big Bang?
Yeah, see, so that's one question that right now we can't answer, and we say, oh, that's where science fails. But I think eventually, the more we learn, it will. But I have heard another way that certain scientists have put it about the Big Bang, and they say like, okay, like you go, like on the planet on Earth, you can go north, west, east, south, and you keep going north all the way, and then you can reach the most northern point, and then you say, okay, well, what's more north than the North Pole? And like that's not. It kind of almost doesn't make sense. Like you need like the only reason we know what north is because there's like an absolute like something we can compare it to. So we're like this much away from the North Pole, or whatever. So that's what they say about time. That point, like saying what's before the Big Bang is like saying what's north of the North Pole. And so it's almost like a redundant question. Like, But I mean, that's one point of view.
No, yeah, and that makes sense. That makes perfectly sense to me because we know time and we measure through time. So I'm saying this creator isn't bound by time. And that's why we don't understand. That's why we don't understand it, and we're not meant to understand it. But the fact that science, I mean, because everything has to have a beginning. I mean, you can just keep going and keep going, but, there's always that question like, well, what created that spark? And then if,
You don't think you can apply that also and be like, okay, if there's everything has a beginning, then what created the creator? I think you would just be caught in an endless loop.
okay, yes, we will. But that's what I'm saying. This creator isn't bound by time like we are, so we wouldn't understand the creator. We can't understand it because we are bound by time. We're bound by the laws that we live, and this creator is outside of that. Almost like I've said, I've made the analogy of a video game. You're playing a video game, and the person in the video game, has no idea of what's outside the game or can ever, it's just a little
Yeah, see, like I don't see that.
program.
I don't think that doesn't make sense, and I could see that, logically. I guess like maybe I can see something like that, but the thing that gets me, that stops me from going that far is, like why? Like why do you believe? Like I don't think there's no evidence for it.
Oh yeah, there's no or
So I
don't know.
think you would just have to like, I almost like I don't mean to sound like condescending or anything, but like I feel like you can almost make up anything. Like, 'cause like you say, oh, we don't understand it. You could start to be like, oh, the universe is on the back of a giant turtle, and we can't understand it. Like, so like if you can like make like a setup that makes sense logically, and like you said, like, everything you said, I don't think it's crazy and it makes sense, but without any evidence for it, I feel like we're just making shit up. Like it could be anything.
oh
in
yeah,
that
for
case.
sure.
So like why like a monotheistic one guy creator that did like I feel like we can start to. I feel like you can insert anything into that blank, and it'll be just as valid because there's nothing really.
Like, what's don't people like? I had this talk with a friend, and he was saying atheists have the giant spaghetti monsters.
Oh yeah, the Pastafarianism.
Is what that is. Where they just insert that, right?
Yeah, and then
everywhere.
exactly, yeah, kind of like that. Like, I feel like it could almost be like, yeah, you can.
But we
exactly,
understand,
yeah.
we understand pasta.
Pastafarianism.
And yeah, you can. But at that point, I think, yeah, you're arguing just like that excuse is just arguing to argue, and it's like, yeah, at that point, you'd have to do some kind of searching, I guess, or. But to me, that just makes sense. That makes more sense of something I don't understand, because when I look around and just living life, I do see intelligence. I don't think this is just random, like
See, when I look around, I feel like, like, why the fuck would God design it like that? Like,
design what,
like there's another famous example I've seen where I think in ungulates. No, I think it's just mammals. There's like a. I might be getting some of this wrong because I'm kind of just remembering off the top of my head, but there's like an artery or a vein or something that connects the heart, I want to say, to the lungs. And so when animals were like all on all fours, or before there was humans, or before there was like the one they use, the example they use is a giraffe. And so before there was like crazy animals like that, when everything was still kind of like basic to the floor, squirrel type, whatever the fuck came out, that it was just a direct route, heart, lungs, boom. So it's like a line. But then as we started becoming more upright, the way that like the body started changing, that little artery, and then the way it started initially, it had to make like a little loop around like a bone, because the bone was in the way, right? So it has to make it.
I've heard that recently, and then when people say, this is what I'm saying, when people look deeper into it, when they look deeper into it, they're saying like, oh, that is like really intelligent the way it developed.
I've heard that too. That people try to make the argument that it's the right way, but I don't know. It seems so weird, especially so. I can think in humans, it goes around like a little bone or something. It's something like that. I can't remember exactly. But in a giraffe, that bone is like located near the top of their chest, like us. But their top of their chest is like up here, like some of the neck stuff. So that fucking little thing it could just make like a 6-inch move to the lung. Instead, it goes all the way up like 13 feet up the giraffe's neck around that little bone or whatever, and then all the way back down. But I have heard that. Oh, actually, that means that it flows better.
People say how precise the environment and everything is around us to create life, and gravity's the exact measurements. The sun's so far away, like everything is so precise that it's not
Like made for us.
Yeah, it's made for us, and it's made.
See, I just think that's a consequence of, that was already here, so we had to adapt to more like the universe isn't made for us. I think like we're made for the universe. I think there's a really good. Have you ever seen?
Yeah, well, I think either way. Yeah, we're made for the universe, or the universe is made for us. I just think, yeah, that shows intelligence that these two go hand in hand, or that
Maybe, yeah. Like, have you ever seen the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Or read the book, or?
I've read the.
Of course, I've got my copy right here. There's a part in
I
it.
know most Def comes out right.
Yeah, the movie's a little corny, but it's still cool. But the book is really cool. And there's a part in it where, is it Douglas Adams that wrote it? There's a part where, like, they're kind of just having like thought experiments, and there's a hole, like a pothole in the cement, and then one day it starts raining and the pothole gets filled with water, and then by just some stroke of the imagination, a lightning bolt hits the water, and it just so happens to set it up. Something happens where the atoms fucking whatever, and for a split second, the puddle's conscious. And the puddle would look at the hole and be like, wow, man, like, this hole is perfectly fits my edges. It's filled it to the top, and I'm flush. And the puddle would think, man, this pothole was made just for me. Like, it fits me so perfect. But not knowing the fact that the pothole was already there, and it's just a consequence of things happening. And so that's the way he puts it, like in the movie or the book. That's like how humans. That's his analogy for humans thinking like, oh, like this universe is perfect for us and the Earth and this, like, so. Where that was already there, and we like adapted to it and kind of just filled the hole. So that was a cool analogy, but yeah, I don't.
But like even that analogy to me makes, that's so funny that we're seeing the same things, and you're saying it's just random, like the light, like who created?
No, it's half full. No, it's half empty.
Yeah, exactly. It's like who created lightning, or how was lightning created, and how was that lightning sent to hit that? Like
who laid the cement?
Who laid the cement? Right.
Do you think there's aliens out there? Other life on other planets?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't. I think there is.
Really?
I do think there's other forms of life, but I don't believe in.
Like other intelligent life, or
There's intelligent life, but I don't think it's.
God didn't make those. It's just
Yeah, no. I don't think it's little green men in spaceships.
No, yeah, exactly, yeah, for sure.
Or I don't think there's
It's big green men in spaceships.
Yeah, they have got to be taller. So, at any point in your life, did you ever believe in a creator or something greater?
I did. I grew up Catholic. My mom wasn't very religious, but everyone else in the family was very religious. They took me to church. And that's actually like, I remember specifically
Being bored.
being at church, like, I want to go play video games.
Yeah, exactly.
But no,
We all went through that.
I definitely remember being young and having like an extreme guilt and fear inside after I would jack off. I specifically remember being like, oh man, like God saw me, my dead great
I'm sure
grandfather.
he has other things to be looking at.
Right? He's too busy giving kids in Africa AIDS. You're good. Don't worry about that.
It's like, oh, hold on. Xander's jacking off.
And no lady learning how to walk. No, you wait.
Xander's like,
Excuse you, ma'am. Xander's about to come.
some poor kid's dying in the hospital and somebody's praying, please save my kid.
And God's
he's like,
about to, but oh shit. Xander's jacking off. Binoculars. Yeah.
I'm gonna make this kid feel real bad. Wicked.
The next day, he strikes my great grandfather down. Ah, yeah, I'm so sorry, God. I'll never jack off again. I jacked off that night. Now, I remember one specific one. I don't know if this is appropriate or not to say, but I remember one time being asleep when I was little in the same room as my grandparents, and while they're sleeping, I'm just furiously beating off on my little kid mattress.
How do you know they were asleep?
They're just playing with each other.
Man, I've heard them say the same story, but so Xander was asleep, so we started going at it.
It was just in the mood. Everybody.
So you guys were like maybe what, 5 feet away from an orgy, maybe?
Right? Yeah, maybe I shouldn't feel so bad. I could have really gone to hell. No, but I remember afterwards, fucking. I don't even know if I came at that age or whatever. Fucking shook, whatever the fuck you do. I remember afterwards feeling bad, like crying myself to sleep because.
I don't think I ever jacked off and not came. What was that?
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
So the first time you jacked off, you came?
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's the point, right?
I guess I've been jacking off for way too long. I remember being little and like not producing semen yet. So when I would come, nothing would come out. I would feel an orgasm. I remember like coming, like yeah, but nothing came out.
Or
just
maybe-
a little flag. I said boom.
Or maybe you're so young, your pressure was so good it shot across the room.
Right? You want to see me come? You want to see me do it again? Like, it was so. Yeah, I still remember the first time I actually came. I got scared. I was like, "What is that?" Oh my! I was wanting to run to my dad.
And
Dad.
Why does it taste so weird? A couple years ago, the Vatican was in trouble. Remember that with the Pope, where the whole pedophilia scandal was going on?
When he was like supposedly moving priests and stuff like
people
that.
right? You remember that?
Yeah.
And then I don't know exactly what was happening. I don't know if it was when they switched to the new Pope, but lightning hit the Vatican. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, look it up. That's lightning hit the Vatican during
It was God. Like, no.
or why
I was
would-
watching those kids. God, don't move the priest.
Nobody's jacking off. I got my eyes on you. So if that happened, wouldn't that be a sign to you, or you think that's just random?
I think it would just be random.
Man, that's like, to me, that's like
Clear.
clear as
like,
day. So
I think if like
that's
the.
you fighting it. How much more clear can that be?
Because
when the
I mean,
Vatican-
lightning hits shit all the time. But like when it hits that place, all of a sudden you're like, oh.
But it hit it.
But if it
right,
hit the O'Reillys next door, nobody would have bat an eye.
But it was right during the time of that controversy, and it was right during the time when the popes switched.
Then we'd have to look at how many times the Vatican was hit,
Oh yeah, we should.
and then maybe it's on average. But yeah, that's like the only time in history lightning has ever. It'd be weird.
And then not too much time later, I believe the new pope.
Got hit by lightning.
No, he released a dove.
And the dove got hit by lightning.
No, a hawk came and ate the dove. No.
You convinced me.
Right? I mean, is that
That's funny.
to me? That's like evidence, or that's I mean, I don't think that's random. These guys are fucking up, and they're on the world stage trying to clean their mess by switching the popes and like because the Pope that was in trouble was going to be arrested if he showed up to other countries.
Oh, okay. I remember hearing something like that.
So instead of having him arrested, they did a switcheroo where he retired early and he's safe in Vatican City. So then the new Pope comes up, and during all that, lightning hits the Vatican, and then a falcon comes and eats the dove. And I think to me, that's clear as day.
But I also think like that, like you think like the Hindus give a shit about that? Like you think that's convincing to them? Like I think that's convincing if you're a Catholic.
No, I think to anybody.
Because like why the Vatican? Why
Because
not?
they're fucking up. And it could be anybody fucking up anybody fucking up.
The Dalai
on
Lama's gonna get hit by lightning next
But
year.
he's not fucking up.
Yeah, but if he was,
Yeah, for sure if he was. But yeah, he's not.
Yeah, but then stuff like that. Another one that got me think like that. Another thing that had me. I don't think it's necessarily an argument against a creator, but I do think it's an argument against a benevolent creator, like some kind of like the Christian God or someone that like the God that cares and loves, but which is like the problem of evil. So it's like they say, if the God's all powerful and he's good, why does he allow bad things to happen? So that's one, like, okay, maybe he that was an omen to don't be doing that shit. But what about the guy who's raped 60 women and got away with it and never saw a day behind bars? Like does God just kind of pick and choose justice and even if that one, like, it's not really, he didn't really do justice. He kind of just like went like ooh and like sent like lightning. Like he didn't really.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's gonna do justice then and there, but I think that's a good sign. Like just letting the people know. I mean, for those that are looking for signs, I mean, I think that's a sign. And I do believe we were all given free will, and it makes sense that we have free will. If we had no free will and nobody did any good or any bad, then what's the fact that we can choose to do what we want and we can choose to hurt other people, and some of us choose to do good. Yeah, to me that's a sign of free will, of that we do have that power and we're given that power.
See, that reminds me a lot of the little debate we had on the other podcast where we talk about whether you can truly make a selfless act or commit a selfless act. I think it plays into that, and I kind of think we don't have free will. I think we're bound. You can't blame me, man. Blame God.
You brought it upon yourself.
It's all a product of your environment, man. Yeah, I feel like, I think it feels like we have free will, but I don't think we do.
Of course you have free will.
I don't think so. I think we're bound. I think if you made another me exactly, like every atom and all the memories and everything, he would do the exact same things I'm going to do. So I feel like we're just a super advanced computer program.
Another jacking off machine.
Yeah, exactly. Jacking each other off in my grandma's room. Yeah, I think we're bound by our brain. Like it's real complicated. It's a crazy environment. There's a lot that plays into it. But I think ultimately we're just like a computer program running and like responding to inputs and giving outputs on like a grand scale. But
yes.
I don't think we have free will. Like I said, like I think if we made another copy of us exactly, I think they would do the same things we're gonna do.
I agree, and I believe a lot of us go through life like that, where we're just so
Autopilot.
It's like when you go to the movies, and you give the guy your ticket, and they tell you enjoy the movie, and
you go, you too.
Yeah, you're not paying attention, right? You're not fucking paying attention.
And then everyone says the same thing. You see a trailer, that looks good. That one looks like it sucks. I like that. I had something right. It's always the same.
Popcorn. You're the popcorn. But I do think I don't know if you meditate or no, you don't really pray. I guess
I don't really do anything like that.
Like to become like. Do you ever get to try and know Xander?
I mean, get to know the real Xander. No, I mean, I definitely,
It's not jerking off behind that.
I definitely like self-reflect and think about what I could do better and how I could change. I mean, I definitely, I don't know if you want to call that spirituality or anything, but I definitely, do the reflect and try
Deep
to,
thought,
yeah, for sure,
reflection.
and I do that every day. But yeah, I don't like, I guess I just don't involve like a creator or anything supernatural or like, but I've definitely have deep inner thoughts when I'm not jacking off. Another interesting point too is talking about like whether you believe in a creator or not is arguments like Pascal's wager. I think we talked about it before, where basically there's two options, right? You either believe in God or you don't, and whether and regarding whether he exists, he either does or doesn't. So with those, you can kind of put them like in a square, and you could say, okay, what are the outcomes? So it's, let's say there's no God, and you believe in a God. You live your life, you believe in God, and then you die, and there's no God, so nothing happens. You're fine, I guess. Or if you don't believe in a God and there is no God, then you live your life not believing in a God, and then you die. There's no God. You don't believe. You're fine. But then on the other side, what if there is a God? So if there is a God, and you believe in God, and you do whatever is worship to tenets, whatever you're supposed to do, then you die, you go to heaven, or whatever, and you're fine. You believed in God, he was there, cool. But if you don't believe in God, and there is a God, then you're gonna have hell to pay when you meet him at the pearly gates or whatever. Wrath upon you, pineapples up your ass for eternity. So according to Pascal, he said you might as well just believe in a God because the odds are more in your favor.
Yeah, that.
So the smart thing to do is just believe in God.
Yeah, for sure. That's yeah, exactly. It makes sense. You got nothing to lose.
Exactly. Yeah, you have more.
other way, you have
you have
more
more to lose not believing in God than if you just believed in God. But that just always seemed cheap to me. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely cheap.
like what I don't believe in. What if? Because like, I don't choose to not believe in God. I just don't believe in it. Like it's.
Well, then who chooses?
Not me. I don't have free will. I have no idea.
Yeah, you choose.
So
You
someone's
choose.
choosing is what you're saying. No, I think it's just a product of my environment and my makeup and my brain and yeah, like it'd be nice to choose what you believe. Like, let's say you had the most beautiful girlfriend in the world, she made you happy, but you walked in on her fucking the neighbor. It'd be nice to just be like, no, I hallucinated that and be happy, but you're not gonna be able to commit. You saw it, you believe it. Even if the outcome sucks more that she's doing that and you guys break up, you can't choose. Like it's the belief is there. You saw it, you believe it, and you can't get past that. Like so that's how it is. Like for me, like that's why it seems cheap. Like I can't, even if I agreed with what Pascal says, which I guess I do, I can't choose to not believe or to believe. Sorry, like it's just.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You
yeah.
would have to truly believe. You can't. Yeah, his thing just makes sense.
Yeah, God's gonna see through that shitty little fucking.
Exactly, that just makes sense on paper, but. Pastrami sandwich. So having this conversation, I hope it doesn't mess up your next time when you're jacking off.
I'm definitely gonna think of God the next time I jack off.
All right. Oh, that kind of escalated a little quick.
Yeah, we're just gonna agree to disagree. But you did bring up a point.
A couple, right?
I've got some more where that came from. Yeah, that one you were telling me was.
So yeah, that's what I saw another guy and he was talking about if you were to get like a box, put a piece of paper, put some markers and shake it, and if I was to show you, oh look, it made a perfect circle, you would think I would think that's not true, or
Right,
I would.
that's not random.
That's not. Yeah, exactly. That's not random.
See, and I've heard people make similar arguments like that. And there's one that they call like a Boeing 747 argument. So like if someone were to see like a finished Boeing 747 sitting on the runway, they're gonna think, oh, like, that must have been intelligently designed. So like,
Which it was.
yeah, which it was. So no, but
Do this again.
but no, but the no, but the point is like seeing like a fully created brain or some kind of advanced animal, something, and thinking, oh man, like that's so advanced. That's so. There's no way that was random. There must be an intelligent creator, and so I think with the argument, it's like seeing a Boeing 747 and thinking, oh man, like there's no way that that would be like thinking a tornado went through a junkyard and then just assembled this Boeing 747. So he's saying, no, that's not how it happened. There's like a process through which it gets made, which obviously for the Boeing it's intelligent, but in his case he's saying that what would be analogous to humans creating it is like the natural processes on Earth shaping it. So when people say, oh, like the bodies are too complex to just be random, he's kind of saying like, you're thinking about it the wrong way. It's not random. There is a process. It's just not an intelligent process, but there is a process. So they say like, oh, without a God, how can there ever be eyeballs and brains? There's no fucking way that would come about by chance. But it's not by chance. It's by just a different process.
Still got that ringing in my ear.
Can't feel my ankle. Think I need new glasses.
I hate you so hard. You got glasses now.
You crescent kicked me so hard I grew a pair of glasses.
You guys both fight like girls.
Yeah, but see, so I can use that same argument for me. But I think it's the way you see things and what you believe is going to influence.
Yeah, I think like the argument is less about the process and more about the fact that when people see like advanced evolved life, they think there's no way that couldn't have been made without a God. It's just it's better than our computers. But so they think, oh, it's just random and random processes would never create that. Kind of like how you said you would shake the thing. There's no way to ever make a circle. But I think the point of the argument is that it's not random. That there is natural processes that lead to that.
It's not random. Okay, well, I always thought evolution was...
Like, there are definitely some things about it that are random. But the selective force that drives further evolution is not random.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not random. It's something behind it.
So I think there is something behind it. I just don't think it's an intelligent creator. I think it's natural selection and other types of natural processes that weed out certain traits and end up leaving good traits. And
yeah, which to me shows a super high intelligence. Like Legos, right? I mean, yeah, I guess, we're going to be going in circles, but I'm like, yeah, you get Legos, you're not going to shake it up and then have a...
And, see, and the thing with life is like, let's say you shake it up. Obviously, you're not going to get like a house, but you might get a few parts. You might get a few parts that connect or something, or maybe, right? You might get something. But with life, like, it's not like you shake it up every time and it's new stuff. Like, whatever sticks keeps going. So, like it reminds me of another argument that people say where they'll say something like, something as advanced as the eye. Like, how did that evolve? Like, you can't have half an eye, 3/4 of it. Like, it's got to be the whole thing to work. So how did that even start to evolve? And then I've seen people show examples where you see, maybe not like in the fossil record, because eyes don't really fossilize or anything, but throughout the animal kingdom, you can see like what almost looks like steps. So first, like, there's some fish and like bacteria that have photosensitive cells. So some of their cells will react to light. They can't see colors and all that shit, but they can kind of they get light, the cells react, so they know, oh, there's light over there, so they'll move away from it or go towards it or whatever. And so that would be like the beginning, right? So some cells that are like photosensitive, and then there's some that evolved a little bit more, and so the cell, wherever they have the sensitive cells, they'll have almost like a little divot, and that tells you where the light's coming from. Because if it's over here, there's going to be a shadow on this part, or a shadow on the inside part, and then these parts will get illuminated. And or if it's directly on top, the whole thing will. And so then they can see where the light comes from. Then there's some other ones that it's something like that, and then there's like a small layer of cells over it protecting it, almost like a lens.
And for the record, I didn't pull your hair during the fight, right?
This is all natural, baby.
No, I didn't pull it. That was the first thing I was gonna do. I was gonna come at you and pull your hair.
You did scratch my back pretty good, though. Jim, back scratches and those crescent kicks, man. But yeah, so like, you can see like different kind of steps towards creating a knife. So like it shows that like you don't really have to start off with a super advanced eye or super advanced organ. There are small steps that can be taken that can naturally evolve, and it's not too out of the question to see that. And once it slowly builds up, then you can have something really advanced.
Yeah, and I agree with all that. And that's, to me, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think that's a sign of intelligence. Like, science is intelligent. Like, I guess we're both seeing the same things, but we just see it from a different point.
Yeah, like if you look at like an iPhone and a beeper, it's way completely different.
Yeah, iPhone and a phone booth.
A phone booth. Yeah, see, so that's why I think people's biggest misconception about like evolution and all that comes from, like, they see these super advanced things and they're like, there's no way randomness created that. But I think they fail to realize that it didn't just randomly create that. Like, there were small steps and increments that could be taken, and each one, you could see it happening. It's believable, and over a long amount of time, those changes build up and add up to something that looks incredible.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you say this creator was so intelligent, it was able to create cells and an environment where it would take that route? Like, that's how advanced this is.
I mean, yeah, I guess I don't disagree with you. I could see that happening. I just don't think there's any evidence for it.
And I would say these things you're bringing up to me is evidence for it.
You know what? That's it.
Toad House.